Welcome back, everyone, for our fourth session of the ESI virtual conference. We'll get started here in just a minute as everyone's coming in. Hope you had a great lunch. We're able to stretch your legs. We've got some great info this afternoon. So we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so my computer has hit 1:30. So we're going to get started. Glad that everyone could join us for our afternoon sessions today. So we're going to have some EPA staff discussing some pollution prevention and their Safer Choice program. And then we're going to end the day with some presentations from the ESI interns that we had over the summer. So we're going to introduce the EPA staff that has graciously agreed to join us today. So first off, Christina is going to lead the team. Christina, also known as Tina Bitten, is a project officer in the Pollution Prevention and Sustainable Materials Management Programs in EPA's Region 4 Atlanta office. She is also the regional contact for Safer Choice. Tina holds a BS in Environmental Sciences from the University of California, Berkeley. And prior to being with EPA, she worked in the community environmental conservation sector with the Peace Corps in Panama. Also joining us is Laura Romano. She joined the Safer Choice team in January of 2017, and she serves as the product reviewer for the program and helps oversee the development and maintenance of the Safer Choice community. And before joining Safer Choice, Laura worked as a contractor at ABT Associates for 5 years, where she supported various projects with EPA's Office of Pollution Prevention and Toxics. And Laura holds a BS in chemistry from Dickinson College and an MPH in environmental health and policy from George Washington University. And the last of our beautiful ladies this afternoon is Lauren Duffy. She joined the Safer Choice team in January of 2017. She's a toxicologist with the program and leads the technical review of chemicals that may be used in Safer Choice certified products and ingredients listed on EPA's Safer Chemical Ingredients List, also known as the SCIL. Lauren holds a BS in Environmental Science from the University of Florida and a PH in Environmental Toxicology from Clemson University. Prior to joining Safer Choice, she was a postdoc researcher investigating the effects of oil spills on pelagic and estuarine fish species in the Gulf of Mexico. So Tina, if you'll take it away.
Thanks so much, Marcia, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tina Bitten, and I'm the Pollution Prevention Program Coordinator for EPA Region 4, representing the 8 states highlighted in green on this map. I'm also the Safer Choice Regional Coordinator, and I'm very honored today to start us off before the presentation of 2 of our national experts on Safer Choice who will be given more information later on. But first off, I'm going to give a brief overview of the P2 program and the work here in Region 4 with P2. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thanks so much. All right, so the Pollution Prevention Act of 1990 established the non-regulatory program, which today provides technical assistance to businesses in order to reduce, eliminate, or prevent pollution at its source. One of the ways that we do this is by providing grants. And in the last 10 years, we've issued over 450 grants totaling about $50 million. The programs funded have helped businesses realize the benefits on the screen, including almost $2 billion of savings, many million pounds of hazardous materials and greenhouse gases prevented, as well as billions of gallons of water and kilowatt energy saved. Next slide, please. We are proud to have 10 P2 technical systems providers located in at least one in every Region 4 state. I've added their logos on the screen, so if you see any material that they produce, you might be familiar. If you have facilities in other states, they can help you out. I will say, though, that here you're in great hands with North Carolina DEQ and the ESI program because they're certainly a national leader in the overall P2 program. Slide, please. And exciting news, I'm very pleased to announce that Region 4 has recently launched our first ever P2 Awards program. This is an opportunity to recognize businesses located in the region that have shown excellence and innovation in P2 practices. We want to be able to celebrate the Region 4 facilities that are taking action to prevent pollution and take better care of human and environmental health. And the last day to submit an application is October 19th. So you should see some more information. We'll share the link in the chat box. And slide, please. Great. The programs associated with the P2 program are the Green Chemistry Program, the Environmentally Preferable Purchasing Program, or EPP, which provides guides for greener products, the TRI program, and of course, Safer Choice, which you'll hear about more in detail from Laura Romano and Lauren Duffy. Thank you, Laura and Lauren, for being here today and sharing your expertise with the ESI program. I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks so much, Tina, and hello, everyone. We're excited to share a little bit more with you today about EPA's Safer Choice program. Our presentation will cover Safer Choice, specifically our Safer Choice label and our Safer Choice standard, which outlines how products can meet our Safer Choice certification. And then we'll go into what that product and chemical review process looks like. I'll then pass it over to Lauren, and she'll give us some information about the Safer Chemical Ingredients List, or what we call SKIL, as well as our Design for the Environment, or DFE program for antimicrobial products. Lastly, I'll close out the presentation with an overview of our Partner of the Year awards and open up the floor for questions. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat during the presentation, and know that there will be time at the end where we will field all of those questions. Safer Choice is a voluntary program that furthers EPA's mission of improving and protecting environmental health and the environment by helping consumers and commercial buyers identify products that are made with safer chemical ingredients. The Safer Choice label is here on the right-hand side of the slide, and if a consumer or a buyer sees this, they know that this product meets the US EPA Safer Product Standards, and it facilitates this rapid decision-making for those purchasers and consumers. They automatically know that this product is safer for families and pets and the environment, but they also know that this product performs well. Historically, there's been this stigma that green products don't perform as well as nationally recognized brands, and we ensure that they do through verified performance standards as part of our requirements. To date, we have about 2,000 products that are certified, and a subset of those meets our fragrance-free criteria, about 400 to be exact. And the fragrance-free criteria is important for those populations that may be sensitized by fragrances, and it also is helpful for improving indoor air quality. We do have a family of Safer Choice labels. You'll see the traditional Safer Choice label enlarged on the left-hand side of the screen, but we also have an optional label for industrial and institutional use. And you'll see the main difference is the round top on that label. The reason being that when we designed these labels back in 2015, the house didn't necessarily resonate as well with this type of audience. So we now have this optional label with the round top. Lastly, we have our fragrance-free label, which is our house label, but with the fragrance-free designation at the top as well. Because our mission is to enable consumers and buyers to identify safer chemical products, one way we can gauge at how successful we're doing a job at that is by surveying consumers about their awareness on the program. And that's something that we do periodically. Our last consumer survey was done in February 2020, and we surveyed 2,000 US adults, and we asked them, are you familiar with a labeling program implemented by EPA that enables consumers to select safer products for people, families, and pets? We did not show them what the label looked like, and 43% of consumers said, yes, I am familiar with that program. We then showed them the label and asked if they've seen the Safer Choice label on store shelves, and 30% of consumers said that they had. Well, we're very excited to know that nearly 50% of those surveyed were familiar with the program. It's also a very exciting opportunity for growth, and there's a lot more that we can do to increase consumer awareness of the program in the United States. In addition to understanding consumer awareness, it's also important to know, do consumers care? Do they want to use the Safer Choice label? And in our survey, 81% of consumers said, yes, we would use the Safer Choice label to inform our purchasing decisions. That number is even higher when the data was stratified for parents and for millennials. I mentioned before that the Safer Choice certification is for safer chemical products. Primarily, we certify cleaning products. You'll see on the left hand of the slide, you have your traditional household and cleaning facility products like all-purpose cleaners, tub and tile cleaners, degreasers, kitchen cleaners. We also certify automotive and outdoor products such as car care products or outdoor furniture cleaners. And the reason I bring that up separately is because these products are released directly into the environment. And in addition to meeting our Safer Choice criteria, they also have to meet an additional level of stringency because of this direct release into the environment. We do certify antimicrobial products. This is certified under our DFE program, and Lauren will go into detail on that later in the presentation. And we certify hand soaps within the health and beauty sector as well. To meet the Safer Choice certification, the products must meet the Safer Choice standard. Lauren's going to dive much deeper into our standard and criteria, but one thing that's very unique and very important about our program is that we review every chemical for human health and environmental safety. And when I say every chemical, this means chemicals that are present in the formulation at 80% or at 0.2%. There's no de minimis for which we're reviewing these chemicals against our criteria for their safety. We also have product level requirements. I talked about performance before, but we also have packaging requirements. This would be sustainability requirements, for example, making sure it's recyclable packaging, making sure also that the packaging doesn't contain chemicals of concern, like BPA, for example. And we also have ingredient disclosure requirements. Consumers today are very forensic. They want to know what's in their products. And one of the ways that we feel as a program, we can facilitate that transparency between the manufacturers and the consumers and the end users is through required ingredient disclosure. Once a product is certified with our program, they're certified for 3 years. They have to be renewed after that 3-year period. And during the certification, the products have to undergo annual audits. The main purpose of these audits is to make sure that the product manufacturers are in fact manufacturing the certified products as they told us they would be. If you're interested in digging deeper into our Safer Choice standard, there's a link here, epa.gov/saferchoice/standard, if you want to learn more. Our product review and our audits are leveraged through qualified third-party profilers. And We have 3 third-party profilers at the moment. We have Gradient, NSF International, and Tox Services. And it might help if I walk through this flowchart to understand how our product review process works. If you're a manufacturer and you want to certify your product, you would put together an application and submit it to a third-party reviewer. These are the yellow boxes. What is the third-party profiler doing? They are reviewing the product against our criteria. They're collecting all that performance information, your product labels, your packaging information, and they're also developing profiles on the chemistry in your product. They then put this all together in a report and communicate those findings to the product manufacturer. And if necessary, they'll work with that product manufacturer to make any improvements. That package then gets submitted to Safer Choice, and we provide a third-party, we provide a QA of that third-party review to confirm that everything checks out, that it meets our standard, the chemistry is okay, the product level requirements are all met. And assuming that everything looks good, we will discuss those findings with the applicant and then enter into partnership and allow use of the Safer Choice label. It's important for me to note that while we leverage these third-party profilers, EPA Safer Choice does have the final review, and we are the ones that grant the certification, not the third parties. I'll now hand it off to Lauren to discuss more about our criteria.
Thank you, Laura. So as part of the review process Laura just discussed, Safer Choice evaluates every chemical within a formulation. The program is interested in identifying low hazard chemicals for their respective functional uses. So we review each chemical under that respective functional class criteria. And as Laura mentioned, there is no de minimis for added ingredients. We are reviewing a formulation and we want to make sure we have full disclosure of every material, including impurities, residuals, fragrances, anything that may be in that formulation. Next slide, please, Laura. Each chemical is then reviewed against our published criteria. We review all available data for the human health and environmental endpoints that are listed in this table. I think it's important to mention that our criteria goes beyond just making sure that a chemical is not on a restrictive list or an authoritative body's list of concern. We have published thresholds for each of these endpoints that we ensure we have data to then evaluate against our thresholds. And in some instances, we may not have data for every endpoint. So in those circumstances, we work to find analogous chemicals to see if there is data available for those, or we can use physical and chemical properties to make predictions or appropriate models. It sort of just depends on the situation, but we do want to make sure we have a good understanding of the data to support a chemical being allowed in the program. Next slide, please. And for every chemical that meets our criteria, we publish it on our Safer Chemical Ingredients list. We refer to this as SCIL for short. And I believe this presentation will be available to everyone after the meeting. So please feel free to visit our website. The link should work. But you could go to EPA's website and just search for Safer Choice, and you will come to SCIL eventually. And this is a living list of 1,000 safer chemicals that meet our criteria. What's really neat about this list is we think of it as sort of a positive list. There are a lot of restrictive lists out there that are used to warn against chemicals that you should avoid. But this is really an opportunity to highlight the innovation and let consumers know what chemicals they should look for in their products. And we also find that in addition to consumers, it really has a lot of value to different partners that may be interested in doing some research to see if their formulations might be eligible for the Safer Choice label. You could do that by looking at the individual chemicals within a formulation and see if they're already on SCIL. And if they are, then it could be that your product or formulation may be eligible for the Safer Choice label. We've also heard that it's very valuable for retailers that are looking to have a way to measure sustainable chemistry for their different products on their shelves. So This list, while it's very valuable to our program, it seems to provide a lot of value to our stakeholders as well. Next slide. Here's a snapshot of what skill looks like on our website. You'll notice on the left-hand side, all of these bullets are different functional classes. So every chemical that is on skill is within one of these functional uses. And there are a few different ways you can search or use skill. You'll notice along the bottom, you could search by the chemical name or the CAS number if you have that, and just see if it's on skill or not. Another valuable search strategy is, let's say you are a product manufacturer and you're looking for a colorant or a new solvent for a formulation. You could click on our solvents functional use class, and there will be a list of chemicals that might provide some ideas of chemicals that we've already reviewed and could be helpful for your formulation. Next slide, please. And then within these functional use classes on the skill list, we organize every chemical by what we call a geocode. And this basically just represents EPA's confidence in that skill listing. So the first geocode is the full green circle, and this is a chemical that has a very low hazard profile, and we feel very confident in that listing. It has a full data set to meet all of our thresholds, and it's mostly reliant on experimental data, or we have model data to have a good understanding of that chemical. The half green circle is a chemical that is expected to be low hazard based on the available data. However, it could be that maybe there's a data gap, or we would feel more strongly, or more confident, I should say, if we had some additional data. And so with additional data, it could be that a half green circle could be promoted to a full green circle. And then lastly, we have what we call our yellow triangle chemicals. And these are chemicals that meet our safer choice criteria for their respective functional classes, but they may have some hazard profile issues. And that is common for preservatives, for example, that due to their nature, there may be some hazard concerns, but they still represent the safest in that functional class. Next slide, please. And so we also wanted to take this time to tell you about a collaboration we have with our sister program in the Office of Pesticide Programs. It's part of the Antimicrobials Division. EPA has a Design for the Environment label that can be used on antimicrobial and biopesticide products, which are regulated under the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, also known as FIPRA, within EPA's Office of Pesticide Programs. And every product that carries this DFE certification must meet both the safer choice criteria that we've previously discussed, but also be compliant with the Office of Pesticide Programs to ensure registration with them. Next slide, please, Laura. Under the DFE program, we currently have 8 antimicrobial actives that are allowed. They're listed below. And similar to skill, this is also a living list of actives. We're always happy to work with interested stakeholders that think they may have an antimicrobial that could be added to our list of actives. And you know, the only thing to note is, as I mentioned, all active ingredients must meet both program standards and requirements. Next slide, please. So if you're interested in seeing which products have the DFE certification, we have a very user-friendly and searchable list on EPA's website. We currently have 34 sanitizer or disinfectant products certified. 11 of those are primary product registrations, and 23 are supplemental distributors. And if a product wants to carry the DFE logo, the primary product must be registered. And then from that primary registration, supplemental distributors could also have the DFE logo. The main product sectors that these that carry the DFE certification are all-purpose cleaners, toilet bowl cleaners, tub tile cleaners, and disinfecting wipes. Next slide, please. This is a screenshot of what the DFE website looks like. So again, it's part of EPA's website. If you were to search Safer Choice or go to our link that was on the previous slide, the first thing you'll see is this banner with DFE certified disinfectants. You can click on the link there. It's a little hard to see in the screenshot, but it says browse the list of DFE certified disinfectants. Thank you, Laura. Next slide, please. And from there, there's several ways you can search the website to find products that carry this label. You can search by EPA registration number if you happen to have that, or maybe you were interested in looking for a particular product. You could type it in here, see if it pops up. You can also search by product type, so you could look for disinfecting wipes, for example. Another feature is to search by the use. Is it for home use or business uses? And then finally, another way you could look is by active ingredients. So let's say you were interested in something with the active with citric acid. From this drop-down menu, you can select that particular active ingredient. Next slide, please, Laura. A new feature that we're very excited about is one that is highlighted in this slide. It has a check mark there. And it is for disinfectants that can be, or that are effective against use of COVID-19. So as you know, there's very increased interest in products that can help sanitize and disinfect against COVID-19. And so if you want to see those products that meet those requirements, check on that, and the list will populate with those that OPP has reviewed and have listed on List N. Next slide, please. Oh, over to you, Laura.
Thanks, Lauren. So we've heard about the Safer Choice label, we've heard about DFE and skill and what our criteria are. And if you're not a product manufacturer, you might be wondering, well, how can I be involved? What can I do? And one of the ways that you could be involved with our program, if you're not a product manufacturer, is to demonstrate leadership in designing, manufacturing, selecting, and using products with safer chemicals. And one of the ways that our program recognized that type of leadership is through our Safer Choice Partner of the Year Awards. We've been giving these out for the last 7 years, and we actually just released our award winners for 2021 2 weeks ago. We awarded 33 companies of all different shapes and sizes with this designation. We're looking for that type of leadership that I was talking about before and promoting safer product use and design, but we're also looking for submissions that promote some of the things that our new administration is aligned with, such as promoting environmental justice, bolstering resilience to the impacts of climate change, and things that can be done to improve air and water and drinking water. There's lots of different types of participants eligible for the awards. There's product manufacturers. These are the companies that are certifying products with Safer Choice. Chemical manufacturers, those are the companies that are supplying ingredients to the product manufacturers, or they might be listing on skill, for example. Retailers are eligible. They might have programs, for example, that are promoting the sale of Safer Choice products, or trying to get those products on their store shelves, making it a requirement that companies are supplying their stores with Safer Choice products, for example. Purchasers and distributors, for example, that could be a hotel that is purchasing Safer Choice products to use in cleaning their facilities. And then we have other stakeholders, and these are organizations that are doing what they can and showing leadership to demonstrate that safer products are important, and they're doing that within their sphere of influence. This slide has several logos of several of our Partner of the Year award winners over the past 7 years. And you'll see that there is a broad range of the different types of companies. We have large industrial companies, we have smaller, small businesses and retailers, you name it, it's probably been involved with us as a stakeholder at some point. So regardless of whether or not you're a product manufacturer, there are ways to be involved with our program. If you're interested in finding out who the award winners are for 2021, I encourage you to look on our website. And that website is epa.gov/saferchoice. And I wanted to direct you to some other websites that you might find very useful. As Lauren mentioned, these slides will be shared with the audience after the presentation. And she highlighted this DFE certified disinfectants product listing. We have the same type of listing website, this is the third bullet, for Safer Choice certified products. So you can, similar to the DFE one, you can filter by company, you can filter by home versus business, the product type, are you looking for a toilet bowl cleaner or an all-purpose cleaner, and all that information is on our product listing page. In addition to our website resources, you're also welcome to ask us any questions. So I'll now open the floor to any question and answers people may have.
Thank you so much. It was a fantastic presentation. At the moment, I'm not seeing any questions, but to give people a chance, remember you can raise your hand or type them in. I had a question. I believe the rebrand was what, in 2015 from Design for the Environment? Is there any marketing research that was done to see if there was an uptick for that rebrand? I know I have some personal testimonials from some folks in the industry when I was still an inspector there, and I was able to see the labels during that transition, 55-gallon drums for solvents, and they didn't miss a beat going to the Safer Choice label. And one, in fact, it allowed them to drop down from a large quantity generator of hazardous waste to not a generator at all. So it was very successful, but I didn't know if there was any feedback on the change of that rebrand.
I can speak to that a little bit. So as you mentioned, we used to be the DFE program. So Safer Choice as a program has been around for close to 20 years, if not more. But we used to be the Design for the Environment program. And in our discussions with some of our partners and stakeholders, we heard that this doesn't really resonate with people. Like, what does design for the environment mean? And so part of the impetus behind doing the rebrand was to make it so that it was more aligned with what the goal is, to help consumers, help purchasers find safer products. So that's why, for example, in the logo now, you can see that there's people, that designates the human health part, there's the leaves, that designates the environment part. So it's meant to resonate a little bit more with that. We did a lot of research when the label was being designed. We did focus groups, we did surveys to understand what types of messaging and what types of imagery would resonate most with people. I don't know if there has been a pre-Safer Choice and post-Safer Choice survey or any research done, but I will say in our consumer awareness survey that I presented on earlier, we have been seeing increased awareness of what the Safer Choice label is, and people were, like you mentioned, very receptive to taking on Safer Choice instead of DFE.
Thank you very much. I'm still not seeing any questions or any hands raised. So with that.
Well, ladies, I will kick in a question. I know you noted there was a bunch of either functional groups or different products. Is there an area where you see Safer Choice going, or have you covered the entire gamut of different types of chemicals?
I can answer this one. Marcia, that's a great question. And, I think we're always interested in working with any stakeholders that have new ideas or new product classes, especially, or functional uses that they think would meet our criteria. And I think especially in the current administration, there's a lot of support for the program and expanding the program. So while I don't necessarily have any new sectors to provide today, we constantly get inquiries and we welcome them because as resources allow, we would love to work with stakeholders to broaden the scope of the program, certainly.
Yeah, and I'd like to add also the industry is constantly changing. So for example, you're seeing a lot of companies that are looking to move away from plastic, for example. Maybe they're trying to create more concentrated products and then consumers can add the water themselves. So those types of transitions in the industry, we have to stay abreast of those trends as well. And we make sure to work with our stakeholders so that those types of innovations can still fit within the bounds of our standard.
And I'd just like to let y'all know you got some shout outs in the questions box for a great presentation, which I think we all agree with.
Thank you.
Yep. So if we're not getting any more questions in, I think we're gonna end it early. No, we're not. We have another thing after. Listen, apparently that calories that I took in during lunch aren't working very well. So it is 2:05, and our next presentation should be up at 2:30. So everyone, you get a little bit of a break, come back at 2:30, and ladies, thank you again for your great presentation.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So for those of you that joined us for our early presentation, I've got 2:28, so in just a few minutes, we'll start back up to learn about the ESI interns. Okay, so I have 2:30 on my computer clock. If you're one of our ESI members, I was going to mention, and of course, blew right out of those brain cells that I have left. When Tina was going through those numbers for the EPA Region 4 P2 accomplishments, all of the data that our ESI members, we roll that up, and EPA conglomerated that with all the other P2 providers. So if you're an ESI member, feel accomplished because those were some of your numbers in there. All right, so we have got on tap some presentations. So part of that EPA P2 grant that we have been receiving for, gosh, over 15 years, almost probably 20. The 2-year grant that we're currently in, we wrote some into our grant to have money for interns. And because of some other not spending because of the pandemic, we had a little extra. So we were able to host 3 different interns over the summer. And they are busy attending school. So before they left, we asked them to record presentations about what they did and what they learned. And the slide that you're seeing is we had an opportunity, the zoo hosted us, and thank you to Kelly Murphy and everyone at the zoo. And the interns learned about the zoo's sustainability programs and everything they're trying to do there. But we also got to spend some time outside enjoying each other's company and visiting with the great animals they have at the zoo. All right, so Angela and Dawn have been working really hard this week to make sure these videos play. And I believe one of them is going to magically make the videos run unless I need to do that.
All right, am I good to start? All right, hi everyone. Thank you all for coming to this presentation. My name is Bethany Suarez, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about my summer internship experience with the Environmental Stewardship Initiative. So just a little bit of background information about me. So I'm currently a student at NC State University. This past May, I completed my bachelor's in environmental sciences with a focal area in conservation biology. This fall, I'm going to be starting my master's in forestry and environmental resources. And I'm currently doing my research at the Forest Biotechnology Group at NC State. So that is just a little bit of background info about me. And what I wanted to mostly focus on are the two main areas where I spent most of my time working this summer, and that was with the Sustainable Office Toolkit and with our member success stories. So I'll go in and just talk about what each of those two things are and what I did with them. So what is the Sustainable Office Toolkit? So it's a series of documents split up into different modules, and they work as a guide for any business that wants to implement a sustainability program. And the purpose of them is it's meant to help companies learn how to incorporate more sustainable practices into just their everyday operations. And so there's a lot of different modules for the different topics like water conservation, energy conservation, and all of those are part of the bigger Sustainable Office Toolkit. So here's just a list of those different modules. I did not work with every single one of these. The other summer interns, Tim and Caleb, also worked on this toolkit as well. And so the ones that I was most responsible for were the environmentally preferable purchasing module, the water efficiency module, and the transportation module. But these are all of the different ones. And again, these are all separate multi-page documents that are all part of the bigger toolkit. So they're all meant to be pretty consistent with each other as one big guide, because they're meant to be for a company that just, you know, if they don't know where to start, it's meant to have all of the checklists that they need, all of the resources that they would need to go and implement some of these strategies. So the next thing that I worked on were the member success stories, and those were meant to be a series of reports highlighting the recent achievements of our ESI members. I believe that they come out every year, so they're meant to be the recent achievements for the ESI members. They're meant to showcase community involvement and different awards that they might have earned, and just provide recognition for sustainability efforts. So for both the member success stories and the Sustainable Office Toolkit, I think that the same general process I used for updating both of those things. And this is that general process. And so the first thing that I did when working with these was updating the information. This wasn't as big of a thing for the member success stories because the document that I was working on was for 2021. So those were pretty up to date and pretty recent, but for the Sustainable Office Toolkit, a lot of the information was outdated. A lot of the links didn't work anymore, and there's meant to be a lot of resources. So there's a lot of different links and a lot of different things in these documents. And so one of the first things that I had to do was go through the modules and just see what needed to be updated, what needed to be changed out. You know, if there's a table in there, is that information still up to date? That kind of stuff. And the next thing that I did was design the format. So I used Canva for this, and I've used Canva for a lot of different projects, a lot of different jobs and classes, and I can't recommend it enough. It's such a good tool to use for making any kind of document just look really professional. So that's what I used for both of these. Both the toolkit and the member success stories. And the idea was just to create a document that was aesthetically pleasing, but also really professional, and it needed to be, you know, easy to navigate. It couldn't be, you know, too busy or anything like that. But it also needed to be easy to replicate so that after my internship is over, that everyone else can still add things on and update things when needed. And the last thing was, this kind of goes into the next point, but making it accessible so that the documents can be easily shared and edited as information changes. I even led a Canva tutorial one day for everyone just so that we could see, you know, after my internship is over, that, you know, everyone has access to everything and everyone can easily share it and edit it, and just making everything easily shareable for if we're sending it out to a company or if we're sending it to get feedback on it or what it is. So any of that stuff, just making it more accessible. So I just wanted to show what I started working with at the beginning of my internship. So this is the original layout of the water module. So as you can see, it's just in a Word document, and I had to go in and, you know, part of updating the information was anything in here that was linked. I had to go in and see if that link was broken or not. And you know, this table in here, I had to go in and see if all of the information listed in the table was still up to date. So I just included this so that you could see what I started working with. And here's the same thing for the member success stories. Again, the success stories didn't need much information to be edited because it was all pretty up to date. But the main idea with that project was just to make it look really professional. So I just wanted to include a few screenshots of some of the designs that I did make, so you can see for the first three that they're part of the Sustainable Office Toolkit. They're some of our different modules, and you can see that I tried to make them pretty consistent with, you know, the designs are similar but not exactly the same, and so you can tell that they're kind of all part of the same bigger document. So that's what I was trying to sort of get across, was making it look really consistent but not exactly the same, and still having the theme that goes with each of the modules. And then also the member success stories down at the bottom, I wanted to keep that one pretty simple. And then here's just some more examples. So I really think that being able to upgrade documents like this, like, I mean, these are, you know, 20, 30 page documents, and I think that having them just look really aesthetically pleasing makes it easier to just sort of read through it if we're like sending this out to a company or something. I think having it look nice and having it to just be nice to look at can help a lot with having to read through something like this. So it was a very fun project. And here's some more examples of just some ways that I edited it. And the Word documents are also, I mean, of course, they're superior if you have to, you know, print it out to save all of this ink. But in terms of sending these documents to different companies, I prefer the edited versions. And that is about all that I have. So I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you for your attention during my presentation. And I wanted to say thanks to the Department of Environmental Quality and the Environmental Stewardship Initiative for giving me the opportunity to have this summer internship and gain this work experience. And I also wanted to thank Marcia, Dawn, and Angela for just their guidance and their leadership this summer. And that is all that I have. Thank you.
Aww.
Hello, I'm Timothy Havens, an intern from North Carolina State University, here to talk to you about my time with the North Carolina DEQ DX ESI internship that I completed during the summer of 2021. First, let's talk about what ESI is. ESI is a program founded in 2002 with a mission to assist organizations in reducing their environmental impacts beyond regulatory requirements and recognize those that achieve and maintain this commitment. There are 3 levels for participants, beginning at the partners level. We would like our partners to establish environmental goals, report annually on goals and compliance. Our next level would be rising steward. We'd like them to demonstrate mature EMS control, commit to go beyond compliance and set long-term environmental goals. Our highest level would be stewards who set aggressive environmental goals, integrate EMS into core business functions, communicate with local community, and agree to mentor other ESI members. More specifically, during my time, I worked with the ISO 14001 standard, which is a standard established by the International Organization for Standardization. This international standard specifies requirements for an effective environmental management system, otherwise known as the EMS that I've been referencing. It provides a framework that an organization can follow rather than establishing environmental performance requirements. And there are also ISOs for other parts of a business, for other parts of environmental, as well as like energy management and other key processes. I worked with EMS Guidance, which provides participants with a organized approach to EMS development. This guidance tool covers the majority of EMS elements, but may not address every requirement in the ISO 14001 2015 standard. Again, not I didn't say this last time, but ISO originated in 1992. The last update and the current update that they're on is the 2015 update. An organization should use the ISO 14001 still as its main reference document for the EMS design and implementation, but this guide will help you complete a 12-month process to establish an EMS for your organization. I was able to make some updates to our EMS guidance, including adding key terms that will allow for users to understand the very specific language that is used in the ISO 14001 standard, as well as adding annex information to give more context to the guidance document. And I was also able to update the visuals to make them more aesthetically appealing. I also participated in a couple of events held by the ESI program, including the ISO 14001 overview. This overview of EMS touches on all the important aspects of an EMS and why one is important. Also details how to use EMS guidance to establish an EMS system. My responsibilities were to attend questions asked by the audience, record questions and answers, and follow up with the members of the audience who would like to know more or get in contact. I also was able to participate in the EMS Module 1 training, which was an in-depth EMS training for ESI members designed as a series of 6 one-day modules in a group setting that provides information and exercises based on the 2015 version of the ISO standard. This training is similar to the last training, but provides a increased depth of knowledge. I was also able to participate in the Environmental Stewardship Initiative Management and Hazardous Materials. This focused on phase 3 of a DOE lithium-ion battery recycling prize. This prize was a competition held by the DOE to see who could come up with the best and most efficient plan for lithium-ion batteries at the end of their life cycle. The winner of this competition would win a $5.5 million prize to help complete their plan. My responsibilities during this were similar to my responsibilities during the other one, which were to attend questions asked by the audience, record those questions and the answers given by the presenters for record-keeping purposes, and then follow up with the audience members who would like to get in contact with maybe other audience members or get in contact with us to find out more. Now, I was also able to attend a site visit during this internship. My site visit was to the North Carolina Zoo on July 28th. The zoo has been working with us since the beginning of our process, and they've been a partner at the steward level since 2013. While there, we were able to examine the hazardous waste program and speak with the EMS coordinator on site. And this was a very helpful example because we got to see what happened when a portion of the hazardous waste program wasn't completely properly managed, and then the steps that they could take to continually improve their EMS process, which is a key part of the EMS ISO 14001 system, which is continual improvement. I also worked on the Sustainable Office Toolkit with the other interns, Bethany and Caleb. My modules were Module 7, which was Corporate Social Responsibility. Corporate social responsibility is the continual commitment by a business to behave ethically and contribute to economic development while improving the quality of life of the workforce and their families, as well as the local community and society at large. Um, and that's a definition given by the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. Some important functions of CSR that I learned during my research was that it pertains to human rights, workforce and labor relations, community involvement, ethics, anti-corruption, and strategic vision. I also worked on Module 6, which was the green building module, which refers to design and construction practices that significantly reduce or eliminate the negative impact of buildings on the environment and occupants in 5 broad areas. And this can include sustainable site planning, water protection and efficiency, energy efficiency and renewable design, conservation of materials and resources, as well as indoor environmental quality. Um, so those were more of my tasks, responsibilities, and what I was able to do during my time here. Other key information I learned here were professional skills, like how to use Microsoft SharePoint and Teams to share information within an organization, um, and also how to organize a presentation that you'll be given to an audience. Uh, and we had an audience with people more than just from North Carolina. We would have audiences with people from all over the United States. How to communicate with partners and coworkers through emails and SharePoint, as I said before. And to close this out, I'd like to give a special thank you to Don Burke, Marcia Alico, and Angela Barger for the experience. I'm very thankful, and I hope to carry this on to my other professional work. Thank you so much for your time today, and have a good one.
Mm.
All right, so my name is Caleb Gimperline, and this is my presentation on my time as an intern at ESI. So starting off, this is just a quick list of all the tasks that I was able to accomplish with my time here. So moving on real quick. Some background about the Energy Toolkit that I was brought on to help work with. The Energy Toolkit was an idea for creating a toolkit that had a bunch of tools that would be able that an organization would be able to use in order to help to reduce their energy use and find areas where they can seek improvement. So there are a bunch of different tools that all help in finding areas to improve energy use. So the first thing that I wanted to do in setting up this process was create an interest form online for companies to fill out so that we could gauge people's interest and find out who we needed to send the Energy Toolkit out to, as well as collecting their information. So I created a Microsoft form that companies would go into and state their organization, their email, contact information, and then how long they wanted the toolkit, what items they wanted, and all that good stuff. Um, and then at the end, it would notify them that they've filled it out, obviously, and that would be in contact very soon. So next, I wanted to find a way to keep track of all these different items that we were sending out and coming back in, and a way to keep track of them just in case they got broken or something like got scratched or something like that. So what I ended up doing was creating a list, a Microsoft list that was able to keep track of all the different equipment. As you can see, it has the status, what company has the tool, when it's checked out, when it's expected back, the number of units. And then this also allows for us here at ESI to add comments, whether that be if there's multiple units, see how many are checked out and how many are checked in, who has those units, and then also if repairs are needed to add comments about what's broken or what needs to be addressed within the following days. So that's the first list, and then I made a second list here, which populates based on the results of the first Microsoft form. So the first Microsoft form, someone fills it out and the information from there automatically comes in here. And I'll get into how it automatically comes in here in a second. But all the information automatically comes straight into this Microsoft form and it fills out their title and everything. And it's just a really easy way to read all the information and it's all localized in one place for people to access here at ESI to get the ball rolling and send them the equipment that they need. So when I first started on the process, I wanted to make sure that it was automated and there was no like people here didn't have to waste their time in doing certain things that could be easily done by a computer automatically. And so the first thing that I did was obviously I created a flow, which allows things to be automated. So uh, the flow creates a cause and effect chain that takes a first event, in this case, the form being filled out, and then um, causes a bunch of different actions to automatically proceed. So the form's filled out, that list that I was talking about is then automatically populated, and then I have it so that the company that responded gets emailed saying that we received their response and any legal information that we need from them will also be attached to that email and sent to them so that they can fill out very easily, as well as um, an email to our staff here informing them that someone has filled out the information and that they need to see who has filled it out and reach out to them within the next couple of days. Um, Within this flow as well, I was able to create a sort of stop that would delay the time period so that in 2 to 3 weeks from the initial flow being started, it'll send out an email to ESI staff informing them that they need to check up on the return of said toolkit because once the company gets it, we want it back within a certain amount of time. So it's just like a nice reminder later on um, to come back to it. And so that's all automatic, and no one has to break their minds about like going in and remembering, this company's, due to get it back and all that. So, um, yeah. So then for the legal information and PDF version, we know some people are old school and don't like to fill out technology or don't have access to it. And so we decided to create a PDF version of the interest form. And on that PDF version, I was tasked with creating some tables to give information to possible people that were receiving the toolkit about information about each of the tools, as well as their exact specs and range, models, units, and a link to the website where you can find their manuals and all that. And so some of the tools are a little bit older, and so we wanted to make sure that as these tools got older and as time went on, we would still have access to their original manuals. So I was given the task of finding all the operation manuals on all these different tools and equipment and putting them into a file just so that we would have a local reserve just in case they got deleted off the internet or we couldn't find them anymore. So for legal responsibility, we decided to create a visual check-in and check-out list. So these two checklists are going to be used in order to gauge the condition of the equipment uh, before we send it out and also upon receiving it, so that there's no legal responsibility, like legal uh, questions, I guess. So nobody can be like, oh, I didn't break this. We have specific documentation that says we sent it out in this condition and we're receiving it back in this condition. And so I created a check-in and check-out list to make sure that we're giving them the equipment in the best condition, and we're also receiving it in the same condition that we sent it out in. And so I believe finally for this process, I was able to create an SOP and flowchart for the whole entire process. So the SOP just lists out all the different steps that can be taken in receiving the interest form to getting it back. And so it lists the whole process, and then the flowchart displays it visually. And we have two swim lanes that show what we do and then what the interested organization does and all the steps that are taken in this entire process. And so next, a really important thing that I thought of was training. Some of this equipment is really easy to use, like multimeters. Most people know how to use them, but other things such as like the light meter and contact meter are really odd, and most people don't know how to like use them upon first inspection. And so training I thought was going to be a really big issue. And so one of the possible ideas that I had was creating a YouTube video or mini series to show exactly how to use each of these equipment. And so I went in and did some research and found that there were some videos, but not a ton of videos on how to use each of the equipment. And so I decided that a I would gather all the videos that I could find on each of the equipment, and I have all the links in a Word document that I've put onto our website, and it just has like all the information that's there already. But then I also went in and created a YouTube script that says exactly like what to say about each equipment and how to describe it and how it could potentially be used and all that good stuff. So that's the YouTube mini series. And then the final step was creating a feedback form. This was just so we could get the organization that we sent the equipment out to's feedback and all their good feedback back to us and how we can improve the toolkit as a whole. What can we add to it? What can we do to make the process move better? All of that. And I also created a mini flow for this one as well, which will notify them that they filled it out and that this probably will be the end of all communication. And then it also notifies us here at ESI that someone's filled it out and we should go take a glance and analyze the feedback that they've provided. And so that's pretty much it until now for the energy toolkit. I was then tasked with creating a gap analysis for the ISO 50001 standard, which just is a Excel sheet that goes through and shows an organization like a checklist of how they can fill out and accomplish the ISO 50001 standards. And at the end, it shows their completion rate, their percentage of completion that they have, and a graph of where they can improve what areas and all that. And so then I went on to updating and converting the energy module of the Sustainable Office Toolkit. And so this Sustainable Office Toolkit is used in helping offices obviously reduce their energy use. So mine was focused on energy, and so I added LED sections and other technologies that could help in reducing, sorry, a office's energy consumption, and also converted the entire document into Canva to make it look nicer. And so this is just a few example slides that I used or I made and converted. And then I did the same thing for the waste module, which obviously is to reduce the waste that offices put out. And so I did much of the same thing in which I converted it over, and then sorted through all the different links that they had, and some had dangerous websites that had been bought out that were still linked, but they now linked to a different place. So I sorted those out, got rid of those, and then found new links and put those in. And same thing, this is just some example slides from the waste reduction module. And so finally, I got to help on the Lunch and Learn poster, which is an advertisement for a future event where we're gonna teach people about ESI and inform them more. So this is just me going through and creating the poster. And so all the stuff on here, this poster over here, I made by myself in Illustrator. So all that is hand drawn by me on a computer. And then obviously in here, put all the words on and pictures in, and then this is hopefully close to the final product. Obviously not completely done, but yeah. And thank you for listening.
All right, I had forgotten all of the great things that our interns accomplished. So just to give you guys a little background and context, the member success stories that Bethany was talking about, that's something we include in the new member packet. And anyone else that might be interested in ESI. The Office Toolkit was a tool that we had inherited from one of the other Region 4 P2 programs. It had been updated by DEQ about 10 years ago, but didn't make it through our internal review process, and it's been sitting lingering, so we wanted to resurrect that. That's intended for locations that are primarily just office-based, but to identify some of the things that they can do from an environmental standpoint. And as everyone mentioned, it's supposed to be something that's easy for someone to pick up, to use, to think about things they can do to increase their sustainability. The other thing I did want to mention, and I don't think we have any questions in there. So I mentioned that we have a P2 grant that helps fund some of this work, and we were just recently offered some additional funds from Region 4 for our current grant. So once we get up and staffed, we are going to be hosting another ISO 14001 lead auditor class. That's where you get certified as a lead auditor that can coordinate different audits and an audit team. So if you're an ESI member and you're interested in that, reach out to your coach or put it in the survey that you're going to get, and we will make sure you're involved in the coordination. Probably, I would say next spring into summer is when we're going to host that. And I know Angela and Dawn are on. Did you guys want to add anything?
Hi, Marcia. Yeah, I think I can speak for both you and Angelo. We were absolutely thrilled with Bethany, Tim, and Caleb, so much that we didn't want to let them go. So they were just wonderful, and I tip my hat to all three of them. So.
Yeah, I ditto. We were very impressed with all three of them in very different ways, and so they did a great job for us, and we were thrilled to have them. And we're looking forward to having more next summer. Maybe not 3. I'm not sure what our money situation is, but we do have enough money for at least 1 next summer. So if you know of a good candidate, let us know. Keep us in mind. We'll be posting that as we get closer to that time.
Yeah,
I think I actually developed a lump in my throat the day it drew closer for them to leave, and
yes,
it was happy but sad.
They were with us from 11 to 12 weeks, so they were part of the ESI family. And I just wanted to say, follow up on what Angela just mentioned. We recently held the Stewart Forum with the new DEQ secretary. So one thing that she's asked us to do is to benchmark our program against other leadership recognition programs across the country. So that will be high on the list for whether we have 1 or 2 interns for them to work on. So I am not seeing any questions.
Nope.
All righty.
Ready to go stretch.
Yes, stretch. And we will see you back tomorrow. We're starting at 9:30. And tomorrow's lineup includes presentations on green labs, and a bunch of our DEQ regulatory program divisions are going to give program updates. All right, guys, thanks again for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you hopefully tomorrow.